What's going on, Internet? IG back again today. And I was thinking to myself, what do I want to do a video on this week? And it kind of dawned on me there is a lot of news floating around even in the last week. So I thought, why not bring back Linux Tidbits, or just Tidbits, whatever you want to call it. So that's what we're going to do. Tidbits, August 7th, 2018. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so first thing I want to cover right off the bat is just some distro releases. So obviously we had point releases for the Ubuntus. So we had the 16.04.5, which is the last maintenance release for that long-term support release. So basically it just brings the hardware stack up to date, and Linux kernel and that kind of thing. And then we also had 18.04.1, the first maintenance release for the next long-term support release of Ubuntu. So that's kind of fun and dandy. If you want to check out what that actually entails in terms of version numbers and all that kind of thing, check out the links in the description. But yes, if you are wanting to know the specifics of what is in those point releases, then definitely check them out below. Basically, they're best used for those who want to install an LTS release without having an awful lot of updates to do as soon as they finish. It's like a service pack release. All right, moving right along. Netrunner Rolling 2018.8 also released. Now, Netrunner is a KDE-centered Manjaro-based distribution. So it is just, again, it's a rolling distribution. They've just released a snapshot, and it being KDE with a lot of good GTK integration. I don't know, is it worth checking out? Let me know in the comments below. I haven't played with Netrunner for an awful long time, so let me know if you think that'd be worth it. But yeah, Netrunner 2018.8 has come out. Now, probably the biggest tech news item of this week is that Android 9, just Pie, that's what it's called, Android 9 Pie, has been released. In fact, in the last couple hours, it should be going live to those with Pixels, and then of course it's up to the manufacturer of your particular Android phone as to when you will get Android 9. Chances are it'll only ever be like 6 or 7% of you anyway, so yay. Basically, some of the stuff that Android 9 brings to the table. First of all, they're kind of pitching it with a lot of AI focus. So they have a lot of focus on adaptive display, adaptive battery life, which I think is fascinating, that idea of machine learning deciding where to prioritize battery life on your phone to try and eke more battery life out of it. I think it's a smart use of machine learning, whatever that looks like. But how it actually affects battery life in practice, I guess, remains to be seen. The other big feature that they're touting is a single one home button navigation scheme, I guess. Basically, they just looked at the iPhone X when it came out and thought, you know what? We should do that too. Now, in all seriousness, they are doing it because in their blog post, they detail about the fact that as phones are getting taller, they want to make it easier for single-handed use. And I applaud that. Does it add more complexity to what is already becoming quite a complex device to get your head around? Possibly. But at the same time, you can't stand in the way of progress. And the third feature that they're also talking about with Android P is this whole idea of digital wellness. Now, they talked about this at Google I/O quite in quite amount of detail, and they do have more details again in their blog post talking about what that looks like. But basically, it talks about giving you as the user the ability to set limits for yourself in terms of what you deem as healthy use of your smartphone, and giving you some features and timers and lockouts in place that you can kind of help guide yourself towards healthier habits, I suppose. So, you know, that's fair play in 2018, why not? I guess for me though, the biggest story with Android updates is, as exciting as these Android updates can be, ultimately so many smartphone users are never going to see Android P. It's just the way that the ecosystem works, and unless you take a walled garden approach like Apple, where they can push an OS update and almost 90% of their user base gets that update, yeah, we're going to be stuck with fragmentation for a very long time. So as exciting as Android P is, let me know down below, how long do you think it will be until you get Android P on your phone? And will it even look the same? Probably not. Anyway, moving right along, there's some really exciting stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks in terms of funding. Now, in the open source world, funding is critical to ongoing development of different projects. And GNOME, I made a video last week about do power users hate GNOME and why that might be the case. But interestingly enough, GNOME has received quite a huge pledge for funding moving forward, where there's about $300,000 that's been pledged towards the GNOME Foundation, $100,000 that's been pledged towards the development of GIMP, the GNU Image Manipulation Program. And Elementary OS has also received a huge amount of funding, which has allowed them to hire a full-time developer for Elementary OS. And so congratulations to Cassidy for getting that role. And again, like I said right at the start of this, funding is critical to the development of the open source world. And obviously, just because it's open source doesn't mean that developers shouldn't get paid for the work that they're doing. Now, the interesting thing that I'm seeing cropping up a fair bit, and there's especially a long post on Reddit at the moment that's kind of going back and forth, is that people are kind of whinging about the fact, why would you donate or pledge to donate this much money? And we're talking all up, we're talking about $1 million here that's been pledged by anonymous backers, more or less, towards the GNOME Foundation. Why would you pledge that much money towards a foundation that would argue, and again, go and check out the video that I made last week, there's a lot of community backlash around GNOME and the direction that it's heading, and not everyone agrees with the vision that GNOME has. And so the conversation in this Reddit, in this corner of the internet, is talking about, well, wouldn't that money be better suited to go and help smaller projects as opposed to funding probably one of the largest open source projects in terms of the Linux world, the world that you and I kind of exist in? Why would we want to fund the biggest monopoly in that area rather than help out all of the smaller projects that are struggling financially speaking? And I've got two thoughts about this, and let me know what you think in the comments below, because I think this is a fascinating discussion. First of all, honestly, we should have no say in what a donor chooses to pledge and support with their own money. So we shouldn't have any say in what that goes towards. But secondly, I think it is an interesting thought that should we be trying to inject funding into smaller projects that are dying off rather than, and to prevent them from dying off, rather than injecting funding into making existing big projects better? Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Is it better for us to fund smaller projects that might be dying off, that need maintenance, or is it better to inject it into bigger projects that could do with improving? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And the last little random tidbit of awesomeness today, again, jumping back on Reddit, there is a fantastic series of posts that has been done on KDE's productivity and usability. Basically, it's just a bunch of posts and tips of how to be more productive on KDE Plasma Desktop, and I think it is well worth the time to read. If you are a Plasma fan, or even if you're not and you're thinking about switching, then I definitely reckon there's some great tips to be found in this particular series of posts, and trust me, there's quite a lot of them, so enjoy that reading. Well, that'll be all from me today in this episode of Tidbits. Let me know, again, there's plenty of stuff to comment about in the comment section below, and hit me up on Twitter as well, as I'm thinking about doing a Q&A type video in the very near future. So if you have any questions that you would love to ask me, then do so on Twitter, #AskIG. It's actually really unfortunate now that Instagram is so huge, because IG was like a fairly obscure hashtag to use, but now it's kind of everywhere. Anyway, try it out anyway. #AskIG, or tweet at me at InGalactic, and we'll get a Q&A video happening in the very near future. Well, that'll be all from me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like this content on a regular basis. Check out some of the other stuff I've got, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.